not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
It's a hottest Wolves takes edition of Flagrant Howls here. We're just hours away from the trade deadline, right? I think it's 2:00 Central Time Thursday, and we're recording this mid to late morning on Wednesday, so we are just over 24 hours until the trade deadline.
And we've
Can't be
seen
top,
a
though, right?
couple have come down. Kyle Kuzma's going to Milwaukee. Chris Middleton got traded. So we've
to the
seen a
Wizards,
couple go
dude.
down. Yeah.
Chris Middleton, man, thanks for helping us win that championship a few years ago. Enjoy the rest of your time in Washington with the Wizards now.
Ugh. They've won, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they've now won 2 consecutive games, including a big win here. So come on.
So maybe the Wolves just ran into a buzzsaw that's ready to be unleashed. So we'll sprinkle in some. So we're going to do our hottest Wolves takes, but we will sprinkle in some trade deadline stuff either directly with our hottest takes or in and around them. We'll go through them in a second here after we shout out our friends at Kieran's, just across the street from Target Center. Great little place to enjoy a pint or two, maybe 3.
That's right. Go enjoy a pint. Some game day specials, too. If you want to walk over there before or after every Wolves game, you can belly up there, talk about trade deadline misses, trade deadline situations for the Wolves. Plenty of great things to talk about at Kieran. Some great food as well. Steps away from Target Center if you're going to a game or you're looking for a little post-game stop, go stop in at Kieran just across the street from the Target Center in downtown Minneapolis.
Also, North American Banking Company helping to power Flagrant Howls on a regular basis here. It's a Minnesota-based banking company with 6 locations in the Twin Cities: Maple Grove, Roseville, Shoreview, Hastings, Woodbury, and 50th in France. And these are just great personal relationships is what they specialize in, and cutting-edge online tools. So if you're looking for a better banking experience, a more local, personal banking experience, whether you're just looking for checking savings and the basics, or something bigger, like you're planning to buy a home or tackling a renovation or planning to start a new business, North American Banking Company can help you. They've been invested in the Twin Cities since 1998, and they'll make the transition super easy for you and your family and or your business. Go to nabankco.com/Mackey to learn more. That's nabankco.com/Mackey. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. All right, Judley, sports dad.
Yep.
What is your hottest Wolves take this week?
All right. The deadline's approaching. There's a lot of questions about, obviously, Julius Randle's future here. We find out he now has, an abductor strain. He's going to be out a couple of weeks from the injury that he suffered in the Wolves' last road trip. Here is my hottest take, though, because I feel like there's a lot of, what's he going to do? My hottest take is the Wolves acquired him knowing he did not plan to exercise his $31 million player option for 25-26.
Oh.
I think they...
Conspiracy Judd.
I think they knew, and here's why. Okay. So it's a lot, but that being said, he's at a point in his career where the sooner he gets another multi-year contract, the better. And it is my opinion that when this trade went down, because, Phil, as you've said now a bunch, this trade wasn't made like, let's get Julius Randle and DiVincenzo and we replace Cat and it's going to be great. The trade was made, one, for the purposes of the second apron and eventually exiting that, and we're seeing why now. It's a major pain in the ass. And the DiVincenzo thing was the long-term acquisition with a guy on a good contract. Mm-hmm. I think the Julius thing was done with an agreement with Julius's camp that, you know what, he's going to be looking for a contract. Because if he exercises it and comes back, that's a pain because he's going to want a new contract. Then, like if you think he's been a pain at times this year, watch him playing on the last year of his contract. The other thing is, if he exercises it, the Wolves can still trade him. So if you go through it mentally and think, you know what, this was really done. Julius was a holding piece, nothing more. Mm-hmm. I think that this would not be discussed publicly, obviously, but I think that this was all done with the full agreement between both sides that if he was going to come back, it was not going to be on the player option. And quite frankly, I think that makes this a lot less of a hairy situation than we from the outside probably deem it to be.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's the thing. And Tim Connolly is such a secretive president of basketball ops. I can tell you when Flip Saunders was back when he was a coach, and then when he came back to run the entire organization, there would be no question or ambiguity about where the Wolves stand with certain players, because he'd call 3 media members on his way home from the practice facility and off the record and kind of gauge the temperature and whatnot. That's the thing about Connolly is we don't know what they're planning. He comes out of the woodworks and just makes these random trades and these blockbusters. But it would make, I think you're onto something if you get past tomorrow's trade deadline and he's still on the team. By the way, like, I know he has an abductor strain, but the Luka Anthony Davis trade just went down, and both those guys were on the sidelines with various ailments and injuries. So if a team feels comfortable enough, or maybe they don't even care if he's available, they're just trading for like a contract that might expire. I don't think the injury derails your chances to trade him. It definitely hurts it a little bit if you think because it's 2 weeks and then a reevaluation. So if you think he's going to be out a month,
right,
and you're looking to acquire a body that can help you, right, I'm going to actually defend him for a second. They've missed him, and I know that he's got his little flaws and probably shoots too many threes and whatnot, and he's bounced around the league, but he is a big, talented body, and the Wolves in these last 2 games, they don't lose that Wizards game with all the other injuries. If Julius Randle plays in that game, they don't lose to the Wizards. I don't think they lose to the Kings the other night if Julius Randle plays in that game. So, he's being made out to be more of a villain and a scapegoat than is probably correct. That being said, I'll stick with what I've said the entire time, and you kind of touched on it. He was always a transitional piece. Yeah. He's always been because ultimately you're not looking to replace his $30 million cap hold. You're looking to get rid of $30 million so that you can stay below the second apron. And that's the thing. That's the theme that I think has been misunderstood this entire time, because quite frankly, the Wolves have not been public about addressing the why here. People think they just traded Cat because they're idiots and they acquired these other 2 players and that was supposed to be the move. And look at how dumb this trade was but the question is, would you rather have, let's say, Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Naz Reid to go with Anthony Edwards? Or would you rather have Ant with just Cat, no DiVincenzo, and those other 2 guys probably walk in unrestricted free agency?
Yep.
That is
and
the
your
line of this trade.
Financially. That's the thing too. But that's why it makes sense that Conley and the Randle camp would have agreed he's opting out.
Yeah.
Like that's the potentially perfect. Okay, thank you. And yes, he's not terrible. He's not. He comes off as, I don't know, cantankerous. So he's not embraced here. But the fact is, if Tim Connolly knew that this guy was going to opt out, then it makes way more sense. And that's the type of thing Tim Connolly would find out.
Yeah. Just in terms of the latest information here, and a lot of these reports coming out obviously before the timeline with the groin or the adductor strain, but between people who covered the Timberwolves, John Krasinski, our guy Doogie, there's not a lot of steam. Like, you hear Kevin Durant's name now. The Warriors are aggressively trying to get Kevin Durant, and maybe that thing goes down by the time people listen to this. And the Jimmy Butler stuff is being widely reported that he has, the things he has turned down with his no trade clause. Yeah. It's been mostly crickets on the Julius Randle front. That doesn't mean that a trade couldn't pop up out of nowhere like the other Tim Connolly trades. So people that are as in the know as you can be are saying it's more likely than not that he stays with the Timberwolves at this point. But there was one interesting report from yesterday, and I think the only way the Wolves would acquire this player is if it involved Julius Randle going out. But Hoops Hype is reporting that the Timberwolves are among teams who've shown interest in Chicago Bulls point guard Lonzo Ball, who is playing his first season after missing 2 full seasons. He's had injuries, the foot, and he is playing on a $21.5 million player option, and then he becomes an unrestricted. He is an expiring $21 million contract. So you would, I believe, I'd have to check the Bulls cap situation. They might be able to just straight up absorb this because they made a big trade earlier this week. But could you swap Julius Randle? Maybe it's a multi-team trade. Bring in Lonzo Ball to help fix. You don't trust Rob Dillingham to be running point for 25, 30 minutes a game. Mike Conley is showing major signs of erosion. Maybe you bring in 20, 25 minutes of Lonzo Ball on an expiring. Is there another big man that could be kicked in? The problem with just trading Julius Randle for a guard, you literally only have Rudy and Naz Reid and maybe Luka Garza as semi-trustworthy big men. So you do need another big back if you trade Julius Randle, if you plan to go to the playoffs and maybe win a series for this season. So keep an eye on that one. I don't think there's really a logical way to acquire Lonzo Ball unless you were to trade Julius Randle in some form.
Dex, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll jump in because this kind of dovetails into my hottest take. So the Timberwolves will not be a serious playoff contender until they address this point guard position. Like, Mike Conley has fallen off a cliff. He finally hit his first clutch time shot all season last year inside 5 minutes within 5 points. Dillingham, I like as a future piece, and I would maybe Dillingham's part of this answer that I'm trying to figure out. But until they get a professional point guard in the room, they're going to struggle with this. You know, D'Lo was able to win them that play-in game, and he was instrumental in that. But he was also a guy that needed his shots. They get Mike Conley in, and then all of a sudden the offense kind of just starts flowing naturally, and everything is working very, very nicely. They need a legitimate point guard. Is that Lonzo Ball? I'll defer to you two, and I'll defer to Kyle Teige and the other basketball experts on that. But they need a professional point guard that's either A, not completely over the hill like Mike Conley, or one that they can actually trust instead of Rob Dillingham to play the 25, 30 minutes necessary a night to start and get the offense going. So until they figure out their point guard position, I think their offense is just going to continue to be very clunky post-cat trade.
Yeah, I think Lonzo would mostly just be like an expiring and maybe someone that could just give you a different look this year.
Yep.
And maybe and much like the Vikings took a look at a Sam Darnold or maybe a Daniel Jones, pre-injury Lonzo Ball, while having a quirky shooting motion and all the big baller brand crap isn't that like the rumored reason why his feet were so screwed up is like the big baller brand shoes were
Dad's
like
disappeared,
bad.
I'll say that. I haven't seen Dad in a few years.
But because he's been, before the injuries, he's been a big-bodied, like he's a 6'6" point guard with some length, who can rebound, who can set. He's a good passer, and he became a really good three-point shooter. Like, he couldn't hit the broadside of the Staples Center when he joined the Lakers back like 8 years ago. But he, before the injury, became a 42% three-point shooter on 7.5 attempts per game, along with rebounding and distribution. And he was good for a couple steals a game, and he was a good player. But I just don't know that, man, like, even if you took a look at him and said, all right, what if we can, let's get him in here and maybe we can get him on a team-friendly discounted deal. I don't know that fits in. So, but Dex is right. It's like we're between, you're hopeful that Rob Dillingham can become that guy, but he's not ready quite yet. And it'd be nice to see him I hated the fact that, he was bad for 2.5 minutes or 4 minutes in the third quarter. It's like, okay, yeah, he's got to play through some stuff, and you need offense at the end of a game. But yeah, he's not ready to captain a team that's going to go to the NBA Finals. So I totally get that.
But the problem here too is like it also comes down to, and I don't blame him completely, but it also comes down to Finch, right? And trust. Like, it's like, okay, if Dillingham's not prepared in your mind yet, that's fine. But Finchy, you're putting in a guy who is like a shell of the guy that we even saw last year in Conley. That's the problem. Is I could see this in just trying, if you're Tim Conley, to offer up to Finch a solution that's like a scotch tape. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like going to fix it. It's not a long term, but it's just like, dude, can you do something with this? Because it's not like when Conley now trots back on the floor in crunch time, we're all like, okay, yeah, this solves it. And I feel bad for Mike, but it is weird, and I will. It's a little bit frustrating too because Dillingham is not prepared to play the primary role at point guard. But I also feel that there are times where it's like, okay, play him here and get him the experience because down the road it's going to help a lot.
Yeah.
And Finch is still like, can't do that. And it's like, okay, what's your replacement? And it's Mike Conley who comes in and unfortunately struggles.
But that's kind of the crossroads they're at for this season is they are operating much more like a team that thinks it can get back to the Western Conference Finals and maybe the NBA Finals. Look at the Lakers, for example. Now, I know that it's apples to oranges because the Mavericks called them and said, hey, we're thinking, hey, don't tell anyone. We want to keep this under wraps. Don't tell Shams yet. But we're looking to trade
or
Luka
your coach.
Doncic. Yeah, don't tell Jason Kidd. Don't tell LeBron.
Don't tell anyone.
But the Lakers, because the Lakers could have made a case that, boy, we have a chance right now the way we are constructed with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. We're sitting here, one of the better teams in the Western Conference. It's a nice little run.
Yep.
And Anthony Davis anchors the defense and gives you, scoring punch and whatever. You could argue that they had a better chance to win big this year as constructed before this trade. Luka comes in. I'm very fascinated to see Luka and LeBron. That team, unless they get a big man here in the next 24 hours that can block some shots and protect the rim, they're probably not going to be good enough defensively to go as far. But the Lakers looked and basically said, you know what? Especially with Luka on the table, a little bit more important to focus on the future and whatever happens this year.
Right.
So again, apples to oranges, but on a different level, but also similarly, if you're the Timberwolves, you should be focused on whether it's playing Dillingham in clutch time more often and living with the consequences from time to time. What's next after 2000? This is a gap year, as Kyle put it. This is a transition year for you, and you're better off trying to figure out what works for 2025-26 going forward. Life after Mike Conley, etc. Life after Julius Randle.
Yes.
And I'm pretty confident saying I want Naz Reid to be part of this thing. You still don't know who your Robin is to Ant's Batman. But you know that Naz Reid is a damn good player, and Dante DiVincenzo is a damn good player, and those guys all fit together. And there's some other really interesting pieces here too. So at what point do you fully flip the switch into, hey, if we lose a couple games because we tried to see what Rob Dillingham could do late and expedite his learning process, we can live with that.
I'd flip that switch yesterday too.
And you lost to the Wizards anyways. So
but it's also, it's not damning. It's not like you're reverting back to being a terrible franchise, but that trade and where that trade is going to lead, yes, it leads you to, if nothing else, play the guys you drafted. Or at least give them a chance. You don't need to play them at times where you're sure they're going to fail. But Finchie, much like me, gets nervous.
The Terrence Shannon Jr. thing is going to be interesting. So I know some fans were kind of irked because he was technically active for that Wizards game. But the reason why he was active is he was just cleared like earlier that morning for 5-on-5 full contact practice.
Sure.
And they were so short-handed. I think they made him active just in case like 4 dudes fouled out and all right, well, I guess we got to throw a body out there. But once he gets cleared to actually play in games, you can't go a full year and not see a first-round pick of that talent level who averaged like 38 points a game in the limited G League experience. So find some space for Terrence Shannon Jr. here too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have my hottest Wolves take in just a moment, but let's take the audience to Brixworth here. Brixworth just steps away from Target Center in the North Loop. And it's funny, one of the first things my wife and I moved back from the West Coast a couple years ago, and one of the first places we went in the North Loop for one of our first, it was like the first week we got back for one of our first bar meals, we went to Brixworth and we ordered the Cool Ranch Doritos dry rub wings and a Detroit style pizza, and it was glorious. And if you haven't tried these things, or the Naz Reid Signature Hazy IPA, you must get into Brixworth in the North Loop. Go before a home game. Go after a home game, or even for away games. They got the games on TV. Just belly up or grab one of the booths. Super close to Target Center. And once the weather kicks into full gear, too, once we get into like spring, summer, a beautiful sprawling patio, event space. So get on out there, Bricksworth in the North Loop, Minneapolis. We appreciate their partnership. How about MSP Plumbing helping people when it's cold out here too, Judd?
For sure. And I'm about to talk about a few things, and you are going to roll your eyes and say, Sports Dad, why? Plumbing, drains, heating, and cooling, right? And you're saying, why are you talking about these things, Sports Dad? These things are a pain, and I'm going to tell you how to not make them a pain by contacting my friends at MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air. 100% family-owned and operated business. MSP is committed to taking care of you and your family. Give them a call, 651-615-4292. Also, at this point in time, book a $49 furnace tune-up, and you will be entered to win, get this, a free furnace. That's right, free. You must book the furnace tune-up in the month of February to be entered to win. But I'm talking about things that need to be taken care of. I'm talking about things that keep your house home safe, efficient as possible. And MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air can take care of all those things. 651-615-4292, or give them a call, msp.com. Call msp.com. That is the website.
Okay, boys. This is going to be right in Judd's wheelhouse. My hottest Wolves take. Fatherhood is derailing the Timberwolves season.
Oh, I saw this. I saw this. This is great. Yeah.
So, well, a couple things. Anthony Edwards and Jade McDaniels are definitely newish dads.
Yep.
You know, and so they're trying to figure out work-life balance and sleep schedules when they're at home.
Yep.
The Timberwolves have the third worst home record in the Western Conference, behind only the Jazz and Pelicans. They are 12-12 at home. So there's multiple teams behind them in the standings. They're out of the play-in even. Like the Blazers have a better home record than the Timberwolves do this season. And they lost 2 more home games this week, right? Coming back here, Wizards and the Kings, shorthanded. So Mike Conley was asked about having children when you're an NBA player, right? Like you're traveling all over the place. He goes, the first 6 to 7 months are really tough on athletes trying to sleep. You look forward to the road trips because it's the first time you can sleep again, get a great night's sleep.
Yep.
So I present to you Anthony Edwards' home road splits this season. He's averaging 5 more points per game on the road versus at home. He's averaging 29 points per game on the road. His offensive net rating is 10 points higher per 100. So 116 points per 100 possessions versus 106 per 100. When he's on the court, that's the team offensive net rating. 3-point shooting. He's shooting 46% from 3 on the road versus just 37.5% at home, which is still pretty good. But overall field goal percentage, 47% on the road, 41% at home. Free throw percentage, 88%. Focused, well-rested, calm mind, right?
Oh, nice bet on the road, too.
Yes.
8-star hotel.
4 seasons.
Yeah.
Dude,
Oh,
88%.
Oh, nice sleep.
77% at home. And let's see here. His true shooting percentage, 62% on the road, 54% at home. So new father Anthony Edwards getting a lot more rest and sleep on the road and putting up much better, more efficient numbers on the road versus at home. This is Judd. Judd, you've had theories for years about when athletes or when wives are pregnant or newborns, their performance takes a dive. Oh, how did that hitter go into a 2-month slump? Well, is there a newborn at home?
Yep. Or a sick parent. Sick parents are also a real problem.
Yeah.
This is a problem for the Wolves. I think it's clearly a problem for the Wild as well. And the reality is this, it's distractions too. Like if you're home and you're doing chores at home or you're expected to do home stuff in season, it's a drain. It's a drain. And these guys are professional athletes. Like they need to be as focused as possible, especially if they're young dads or something like that too. Like At Conley's age, he's probably fine, right? He gets it. But if you're in your 20s and you're a new dad, and then you got to go play the Wizards that night, yeah, this is definitely like people scoff, but it is definitely or can be a thing depending on where people are at in their lives. Because if you are on the road, you're around your buddies, you're playing basketball, and that's all you are thinking about.
Now, I will say on the Jaden McDaniels front, the story is a little different because he's actually, and he was kind of asked about it too, that he's trying to figure it out and he's a new dad. But at home, he's shooting 50% from the field. On the road, 42%. At home, he's shooting 40% from three, just 28% from three on the road. But then, like, his free throw numbers, on the road, he shoots 90% at the free throw line, which is crazy, and only 68% at home.
Yep.
And, like, the scoring average is kind of, so he actually averages 12 points per game at home versus 10 points per game. I'm just waiting for the Judd Zulgad Substack article, just filleting athletes.
And
why don't you
too.
do the Derek Jeter thing? Just wait till you're retired, and then you can build a family.
The Wolves are 12-12 at home. They're a 500 team at home. That's a real problem.
Yeah, and last year they were like incredible at home for at least a huge chunk of the season.
You've got no cushion. And by the way, you've got a fan base that whenever I go, packs the place now. Like, there is no reason for you to be 500 at home.
Maybe the fan base maybe what we should do is like pick 5 fans every single week, the night before a game especially, and say, hey, you're going to go over to Jaden's house
and babysit,
and you're going to go over to Ant's house, and you're going to help with whatever needs to be helped with. Just make sure. I just need Ant to get in his 10 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I think it's just distractions too. I just think it's distractions. I hate distractions. I like hotels. I would love to offer incentivize my players the night before games at home to stay in a hotel. I would love to.
Don't NFL teams do that even for home games? Like you don't sleep in your bed the night before a home game even. Everyone's in a hotel.
The Vikings, they previously, when they were in the Metrodome at home, they would stay at the Hilton downtown. I think now they stay out at their hotel by TCO. But
they do stay in a hotel
because they meet
and
stuff, and they meet the night before. So you meet, you go through this stuff, but you do not have any distractions from home the night before.
Judd's NBA babysitting service. Yes, whether you have 1 kid or 10, Judd is the sports dad is here. Live up to your name. You're the sports dad.
I don't want to worry about the kids. I want to get the players out of their homes. I want to pull them out of their homes the night before games, and I want to put them, look, downtown. You talk about the economy. If we got both teams staying downtown, and there's some nice hotels now, like there's some nice ritzy hotels.
Yeah, I think the road teams pretty much all stay at the Four Seasons now, most of them.
So if you're Jaden or your aunt, I mean, are you telling me you get some extra sleep there? Room service is on me. I'm just saying.
Maybe we can petition for the Wolves to just flip like half their remaining home games to the road. Just get on the road for like 3 weeks, go win 7 out of 9 games, and then come back. Check on the family for a minute, then go back out on the road.
You can call them. You can FaceTime your family.
Exactly.
I mean, we got technology now. I mean, I literally can FaceTime. Hey, what's going on? Things good? Okay. Got a game tonight. Bye. Bang.
Just tired of family building and fatherhood.
You know what? No,
ruining my sports experience.
I will say this. These guys are going to have healthy and happy, productive lives after they're done playing. Yeah. There's plenty of time. You retire at like what? What's the average age of retirement in basketball?
Well, I think a lot younger than you would think because
30-something?
guys get you mean for established players or?
No, I'm just saying what's the average if you take every basketball player
in the mid to late 30s if you're talking established players.
Okay.
But yeah,
well, I mean, you are a old player. Mike Conley is a young man.
What's funny is I'm kind of joking. Judd is dead serious. The entire last 8 minutes.
You know what? I am dead serious. You get paid millions of dollars. You are elite at what you do. And quite frankly, I need you to be at your best. Like, this is not a hobby. This is not a nice little job. This is your life until you're done playing, which, by the way, when you're done playing, God willing, you still got a ton of life left. I think that we have found the solution, and it's called the Ritz.
Oh. Well, we're going to see what happens in the next 24 hours here. Hopefully no more Wolves have, just wait till the off season or wait till you're 40 at this point for having more kids. But we'll see if they make any big trades in the next 24 hours. I think what we're going to do is Kyle and I are going to jump on, 10, 15 minutes after the trade deadline is our plan right now. We may just go live, but we will have something for you after the trade deadline tomorrow. And then we'll do a Feedback Friday episode. So a lot more Flagrant Howls coming at you the rest of the week here. These were our hottest Timberwolves takes. And this is your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.